The human Elari fleet moved silently through the depths of space, deep into Velcor-controlled territory. Every ship gleamed with purpose, engines glowing blue against the darkness. They carried more than weapons. They carried the hope of countless worlds. Captain Mara Vance stood on the bridge of the UNS Resolute, eyes fixed on the holographic map. Red dots marked the Velcor command centers, the heart of their power. Admiral Kane's plan is clear, Mara said to Commander Kalis. We strike together, fast and precise. We disable the command centers, free the enslaved worlds, and show the Velcor that the galaxy will not bow to fear. Kalis nodded. Your species has a strange strength, Captain. You face impossible odds and still move forward. Mara smiled faintly. It's what humans do. We rise even when others expect us to fall. The final approach weeks of preparation had led to this moment. The fleet approached the largest Velcor stronghold, a massive orbital citadel above a shattered planet. Energy beams arced from its towers, scanning the void for intruders. Enemy fleet detected, Ensign Leora reported. They are moving to intercept. Mara clenched her fists. Stealth formation. Keep the outer ships hidden until the strike begins. The fleet split. Smaller human and Elari squadrons darted around the edges, drawing attention while the main force approached the citadel from above. The Velcor were powerful, but they were not prepared for creativity, coordination, and courage working in perfect harmony. Kalis observed from the bridge. They have never seen unity like this before. The battle begins, the Velcor attacked with everything they had. Massive ships fired energy beams, missiles streaked through space, and automated defense turrets lit up the void. Focus fire on their shields, Mara ordered. Once breached, target the control towers. The human fleet moved with precision, agile and unpredictable. Fighter squadrons weaved through the beams, striking vulnerable points before disappearing into the shadows. Elari ships flanked from above and below, combining speed with advanced technology. Even with superior numbers, the Velcor began to falter. Human ingenuity turned the tide. Engineers aboard the Resolute hacked into the Citadel's outer systems, causing turrets to misfire. Fighters created energy decoys, confusing targeting arrays. Leora grinned. They don't know what to expect next. Mara nodded. That's how we win. Striking the heart once the outer defenses were weakened, Mara led a squadron toward the central control tower of the Citadel. The structure was massive, black and red, humming with power. Deploy boarding teams, Mara ordered. We take the tower, we disable their leadership. Without it, the Velcor fleet will collapse. Human and Elari boarding ships dropped toward the tower. Explosions and energy blasts lit the descent, but the teams moved with precision, clearing corridors and disabling security systems. Inside, Mara's team reached the command core. Energy flows pulsed around them, massive panels of control and communication humming with power. Engineers worked quickly, rerouting energy to disable the Citadel's systems. Almost there, said Dr. Amina Ray, adjusting the main interface. Just a few more seconds. The core shuddered. Lights flickered. Then, a brilliant pulse of blue energy spread outward, disabling the Citadel's shields and communication links across the sector. The Velcor fleet went into chaos. Without coordination, their ships collided, misfired, or retreated. For the first time, the Velcor experienced what humans had all along: adaptability, courage, and unity outmatched raw power. A galaxy awakens as news of the strike spread. Planets under Velcor control began to rise. Prisoners escaped from labor camps, cities erupted with revolts, and fleets long hidden in shadows joined the fight. From the bridge of the Resolute, Mara watched as blue and white lights appeared across the holographic map. Allied systems responding, joining, fighting. Captain, Kalis said, awe in his voice. The galaxy is waking up. Mara smiled. This is what hope looks like. Every action became a signal, a call for others to rise. The humans had not only defeated the Velcor in battle, but they had shown that fear was no longer enough to control the galaxy. The Velcor's retreat. The Prime Voice received reports from across his empire. Systems once silent now blazed with rebellion. Fleets he considered under control were either destroyed or defecting. They are stronger than we anticipated, hissed a Velcor lieutenant. The humans. They inspire others. How is this possible? The Prime Voice's eyes glowed with dark light. Then they shall fall harder, he said. We will not allow hope to spread. But even he could not stop the momentum. For the first time in history, the Velcor were on the defensive. Their empire, once unchallenged, began to crumble. Unity and strategy. The Human-Alari alliance continued to strike precisely. Using intelligence gathered from liberated systems, they targeted Velcor fleets, bases, and resource depots. Every attack was carefully planned to minimize casualties while maximizing disruption. Adaptability is our weapon, Mara said during a strategy meeting. We cannot match them ship for ship, but we can match them mind for mind, Callus nodded. And you have taught others to fight the same way. The galaxy now moves as one. The Allied fleets coordinated attacks across multiple sectors simultaneously, overwhelming the Velcor in unexpected ways. The galaxy, once silent and fearful, now acted together, united by the humans' example. The final confrontation. After months of coordinated strikes, the Allied fleet approached the Velcor home sector, the very heart of their empire. This was the final battle. If they succeeded, the Velcor would be permanently weakened and freedom could spread. The Velcor fleet awaited, massive and formidable. But Mara's fleet was ready. Every pilot, soldier, and engineer knew their purpose. They had trained, they had fought, and they had grown stronger with every encounter. Mara addressed the crew one final time before the jump to the heart of the Empire. Today we fight not just for Earth or Alari, but for every life the Velcor sought to extinguish. Remember why we rise. Remember that the galaxy is worth saving. Let us show them the strength of humanity. Cheers filled the bridge. The engines roared. The fleet leapt forward, diving straight into the enemy heart. The battle for the heart. The Velcor met them with fury. Massive energy beams struck human ships, missiles streaked across space, and explosions lit the darkness. But the humans were relentless. They used speed, strategy, and unity to overwhelm the Velcor's largest fleets. Fighters darted through massive capital ships, disabling weapons and engines. Boarding teams infiltrated command vessels, shutting down controls and taking the fight directly to the enemy leaders. Mara led the main strike, her ship weaving through beams and debris, targeting the central command station of the Velcor. The station glowed with dark red energy, the symbol of Velcor dominance. Dr. Ray activated the core destabilizer. Energy pulsed, shields flickered, and then the station began to collapse under controlled precision strikes. The Velcor fleet faltered. Command systems failed. The Prime Voice realized his empire was no longer coordinated. Panic rippled through his forces. The collapse of an empire. One by one, Velcor ships either surrendered, fled, or were destroyed. The humans and their allies struck with precision and mercy, focusing on disabling rather than annihilating when possible. Across the galaxy, systems under Velcor control rose up. People reclaimed their homes, rebuilt their cities, and repaired their worlds. Hope spread like wildfire, faster than any weapon could destroy. Even the Velcor soldiers who had followed orders for centuries began to question their leaders. They saw humans and allies not as enemies, but as beings who fought for life, not domination. Victory and reflection. Finally, after months of relentless campaign, the central Velcor command station fell. The Prime Voice was cornered, his empire in ruins. Mara and her fleet had succeeded where centuries of others had failed. In the quiet aftermath, Mara stood on the bridge of the Resolute looking at the stars. Commander Kalis joined her silently. "The galaxy owes you a debt, Captain," Kalis said. Mara shook her head. "Not to me, Kalis. To everyone who refused to give up. Humanity did not rise alone. We rose together." The stars stretched endlessly, filled with countless worlds once under shadow, now free. The galaxy had remembered what courage, unity, and hope could accomplish. A new beginning. Months later, the Allied fleets returned to their home systems. Planets rebuilt, colonies thrived, and a new council of free worlds was formed. Humans became leaders not by force, but by example, teaching cooperation, courage, and the value of life. Mara walked through a bustling port on Earth, watching children play, ships launch, and traders move between worlds. She felt a quiet pride. Humanity had faced the impossible and prevailed, not just through power but through hope, courage, and unity. Commander Kalis joined her. "The galaxy will remember this day," he said. Mara smiled. "They will. And they will remember that we did not rise for ourselves alone. We rose for all life. Above them, the stars twinkled, silent witnesses to the dawn of a new galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the universe felt alive, and in that light, humanity had not only survived, it had led. The galaxy was quiet in a way that felt wrong. Stars still burned, planets still turned, but something was missing. A sound, a presence that once made the void feel alive. Humanity was gone, or at least that was what everyone believed. The Virel Dominion celebrated on every world they owned. Their cities shone with lights brighter than suns, and their banners hung from orbiting stations. Music, strange and metallic, echoed through the streets. The Virel were a proud species, elegant and tall, with glass-like skin that reflected light in colors that changed with their mood. That day, every reflection glowed with joy. They had won. After 10 long years of war, the humans had finally been defeated. Earth was silent, its colonies destroyed or captured. The Virel called it the cleansing of the reckless species. Across the galaxy, their leaders gave speeches about how peace had finally returned. In their great halls, the Virel commanders raised crystal cups and spoke proudly. "The humans are finished," said Chancellor Vorex, his voice echoing across 1,000 screens. "Their chaos is ended. The galaxy will know order again." Cheers filled the chambers. But far from those bright worlds, hidden in the ashes of defeat, one human still lived. Captain Mira Solon floated in the dark aboard the wreck of the Erebus, an old human carrier that had been torn apart during the last battle near Sigma Gate. Most of the ship was gone, melted metal and drifting debris. Only one small section still held air, and that was where Mira survived. She sat inside the ruined command deck, wrapped in a thermal blanket, staring at the cracked glass window before her. The stars looked cold and distant. Her oxygen meter blinked red. She had counted her breaths for 3 days. "Still here," she whispered, her voice rough from thirst. Still human. Her ship's systems were half dead, but she had managed to restart a few lights and the emergency power. Sparks sometimes jumped from open panels, painting the walls with flickers of blue. The only sound was the soft hum of the life support generator she had rebuilt from scrap. She checked the transmitter again. Static filled the screen, then a faint voice impossible to make out. She adjusted the dials carefully, her fingers trembling. After several seconds, a pattern appeared. It wasn't Virel language. It was human code. Her heart jumped. She replayed it 3 times before believing it. It was a distress signal, short, faint, and old, coming from deep inside the Lorne expanse, a part of space the Virel never entered. She leaned closer, whispering, "Someone's alive." Outside, a broken moon drifted slowly. Its surface was scorched, and pieces of human ships circled it like ghosts. Mira looked at the wreckage and thought of the last day of the war. The Virel had attacked from 3 directions. Humanity had fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. Still, she remembered something. A moment before the fleet was destroyed. A message from Admiral Ardent, their last commander. His voice had been calm, steady, almost comforting. "If any of you survive," then he had said, "remember this. Humanity does not vanish. We adapt, we wait, and one day the stars will speak our name again." She had thought it was just a farewell, but now maybe it wasn't. Mira's training told her what to do next. Survival was not enough. She had to find that signal. But her ship couldn't fly far. She checked the fuel, less than 5%. The engines were damaged, and the navigation system was offline. Still, humans had always done more with less. Using old manuals, she scavenged parts from the wreck around her. She pulled out burnt wires, fixed circuits, and used pieces of alien scrap left from the battle. Her hands were cut and bruised, but she didn't stop. She worked for hours, sometimes days, eating from emergency rations and sleeping beside the control panel. She talked to herself to stay awake. When she finally tried the engines, they roared weakly to life. The Erebus trembled but held together. She smiled for the first time in weeks. "Come on, old ship," she whispered. "One more flight." Her plan was simple. Use the ship's limited thrust to push toward the Lorne expanse, then glide the rest of the way. She didn't know what she would find there, but she had no other direction to go. The journey began slowly. Stars drifted by like watchful eyes. Sometimes she saw the wrecks of other human ships, their hulls shining softly in the dark. She saluted each one. As days passed, she started picking up alien transmissions. They were Virel broadcasts, news programs, music, and speeches. She listened quietly. Every message was about their victory. They talked about new colonies, new trade routes, and how the galaxy was safe again. They even showed captured human ships as trophies. One announcer laughed and said, "Humans were clever but not wise. They burned bright and then burned out." Mira turned off the radio and closed her eyes. A quiet anger rose inside her. Not hate, but something stronger, determination. "They think it's over," she whispered. "Let them." Weeks later, her ship reached the border of the Lorne Expanse. It was a dark nebula, filled with strange blue clouds and swirling magnetic storms. No signals went in or out. Many ships had entered, but none returned. The Varel called it cursed. Mira studied it from her window. It looked alive, moving, shifting like a sea made of light and shadow. The distress signal came from deep inside. "This is it," she said. "If I die here, I die looking for hope." She adjusted her suit, sealed the cockpit, and flew straight into the storm. At first, the ship shook violently. The controls flickered and the sensors went blind. She couldn't see more than a few meters ahead. Static filled the radio again. She gritted her teeth and held the steering handle steady. Lightning danced through the nebula, bright and silent. The ship's hull groaned and alarms screamed. But Mira didn't turn back. Then through the chaos she saw something. A shadow, large and still, hidden behind the clouds. It wasn't a rock or a shipwreck. It was something built. Metal towers rising from mist and faint lights blinking like beacons. Her heart raced. "No way," she whispered. "That's human design." She steered closer and the sensors flickered back to life for a moment. The readings showed massive energy signatures, human code embedded in the signals. There were ships, hundreds, maybe thousands, hidden inside the nebula, powered down but intact. A message blinked on her console. "Identify yourself. You are entering restricted human space." Mira's eyes widened. Her breath caught. She pressed the transmitter button, voice shaking. "This is Captain Mira Solon of the Erebus." "I thought I was the last." A pause. Then a calm male voice replied, deep and steady. "You're not the last, Captain. Welcome home." For the first time in months, Mira felt tears roll down her face. Humanity was not gone. It was hiding when waiting. The Erebus drifted gently toward the hidden fleet. Dozens of lights appeared through the fog, ships awakening from long silence. Some looked like old Earth designs, others newer, with unfamiliar technology fused into their hulls. The Lorne Expanse wasn't a graveyard. It was a fortress. As the docking lights guided her in, Mira whispered softly, "They think we're finished. Let them celebrate while they can." On distant Varel Prime, fireworks lit the skies as alien crowds cheered. The Chancellor raised his glass again and spoke proudly. "The age of humanity is over." Far away in the shadows of the nebula, a single human ship docked with the hidden fleet. A quiet smile touched Mira's lips. "The age of humanity," she said, "has only just begun." Captain Mira Solon stood on the bridge of the Erebus, staring at the massive fleet hidden inside the glowing fog of the Lorne Expanse. Her ship, once broken and silent, now floated among giants, hundreds of human vessels resting in secret. They were quiet, but alive. Blue lights blinked from their hulls like stars hidden beneath the mist. Some were warships, others carriers, and a few were mobile colonies with forests and lakes inside. It was as if humanity had built a small world within the nebula, far from the eyes of their enemies. Mira had imagined survivors, maybe a handful of lost ships. But this was beyond belief. As docking clamps locked onto her ship, a voice spoke through her comms. "Welcome to the Lorne fleet, Captain Mira Solon. Please remain on board for decontamination." She smiled faintly and replied, "Understood. It's good to hear a human voice again." A few hours later, Mira stepped out into a long metal hallway. The air smelled of recycled oxygen and warm machinery. Dozens of people walked past her, dressed in simple gray uniforms marked with the old Earth insignia. Some looked surprised to see her. A newcomer, someone from outside. A tall officer approached, his hair silver and his eyes calm. He carried himself like someone used to command. "Captain Solon," he said with a respectful nod. "I am Admiral Keon Ardent. Welcome home." Mira saluted sharply. "Sir, I thought you were gone." The Admiral smiled. "Many thought the same about you, but as you can see, humanity is hard to erase." He led her through wide corridors filled with engineers, scientists, and soldiers working together. Everyone seemed busy, repairing ships, studying alien tech, or testing strange machines that glowed with soft blue light. "This is our hidden heart," Ardent explained. "When Earth fell, we retreated here. The nebula hides us from all scanners. The Virel fear this place. They think it's haunted." Mira glanced around in awe. "You've survived all these years?" "6, he said. "We've built farms, schools, even small cities inside the carriers. But survival is not enough. We've been waiting for the right moment to return." They entered a command room filled with holographic maps of the galaxy. Red marks showed Virel territory spreading across thousands of systems. Only a few small dots marked where human life might still exist. Mira studied the display quietly. "They've taken everything." "Yes," the Admiral said. "But not forever." He tapped a control panel and a new map appeared, showing secret human beacons placed in deep space. "We've been gathering information," he continued. "The Dominion celebrates, but their empire is fragile. Many of their colonies are unhappy. Their leaders hide the truth, that they never truly destroyed us." "That's our advantage," Mira looked at him curiously. "Then why haven't we struck back yet?" Ardent shook his head. "Because we don't need another war. We need the truth to be known. If the galaxy sees who the Virel really are, proud but fearful, their control will break on its own." That night, Mira walked alone through the viewing deck of the main station. The nebula outside glowed softly, its clouds shifting like waves in a silent sea. She thought about Earth, her home, her family, the city she had once walked. Were they truly gone? Could she ever see them again? For the first time in months, she didn't feel completely alone, but she also knew what the Admiral said was true. Humanity couldn't fight back with weapons. They needed something stronger. A message, a spark that would reach every corner of the galaxy. A soft voice broke her thoughts. "You're the one who found the signal, aren't you?" Mira turned and saw a young woman, maybe 20, holding a tablet covered in schematics. She wore an engineer's badge. "Yes," Mira replied. "I followed it here. It saved me." The girl smiled shyly. "I'm Lyra, Communications Division. We've been trying to send that signal for years, but the nebula blocks most transmissions. We didn't think anyone would ever hear it." "Well," Mira said gently, "I guess luck still likes humans." Lyra laughed softly. "Or maybe courage does." The next day, Mira attended a briefing with the Admiral and his top officers. A large holographic model floated above the table, a massive tower of lights and cables surrounded by rotating satellites. "This," Ardent said, "is Project Dawn. It's what we've been building for 6 years. A galactic broadcast beacon capable of reaching every network in the Dominion." Mira leaned forward. "A broadcast?" "Yes," the Admiral said. "Not an attack. A truth transmission. Once activated, it will show every species the proof that humanity still lives. It will expose the lies the Dominion used to control them." He paused, his voice calm but firm. "The Virel say they brought peace. But they built it on fear. We will show the galaxy that peace can exist without chains." Mira looked thoughtful. "So the war isn't over, it just changed shape." Ardent nodded. "Exactly. We don't need to destroy them. We only need to remind the galaxy that humans never gave up." Later, Mira explored the lower decks. Engineers were busy assembling new ships, sleek, smaller vessels that used both human and alien designs. They moved silently and left no trail behind. She asked one of the mechanics, "How did you build these?" The man wiped his hands and smiled. "We scavenged Virel wrecks after the war. Took their technology, fixed it, and made it better. Humans always improve what others leave behind." Mira grinned. "Still the same spirit," he nodded proudly. "We call it the Rebirth Fleet. Not for fighting, for traveling, delivering messages, exploring again. Humanity's not meant to hide forever." As days passed, Mira learned more about the people here. There were teachers teaching children born in the nebula, farmers growing crops under artificial sunlight, artists painting new flags and symbols of hope. Even though they lived in secret, their hearts still reached for the stars. At night, she helped Lyra test communication systems. They would sit together in the quiet command room, sending coded signals across the nebula, trying to find new frequencies that might pierce through. Sometimes, they caught fragments of alien broadcasts, News about the Dominion's grand parades, their speeches, their songs of victory. The aliens sounded so confident, so certain that humanity was gone forever. Mira listened silently each time, then said softly, "Let them believe it a little longer." One evening, an alert echoed across the station. A small ship had been detected near the nebula's edge. Not Virel, but a neutral trader vessel. Could they see us? Someone asked. No, Lyra said, checking the sensors. But they might detect energy readings. Admiral Ardent gave the order to remain silent. The fleet powered down, lights dimmed, and every ship went dark. Mira watched the small vessel pass by on the screen. It lingered for a few minutes, scanning the area, then turned away. After a tense silence, Ardent spoke quietly. They will start wondering what lies in the expanse. That curiosity will grow. One day they will come searching again. We must be ready before that day arrives. He looked at Mira. And you, Captain Solon, you may be the key. Mira blinked in surprise. Me? You escaped their defeat, he said. You crossed their territories alone. You've seen how they speak, how they think. You know their pride. We need someone like you to carry the truth into their own heart. Her chest tightened. She understood what he meant. Infiltration, not battle. To go where no human should go and show the Dominion that the truth cannot be buried. She didn't answer right away. She stared at the nebula through the window, the soft blue light dancing on her face. Finally, she nodded. If that's what it takes for the galaxy to remember who we are, she said, then I'll do it. Later, in her quarters, Mira wrote in her old logbook, one of the few things she had saved from the Erebus. They think we are gone. But hope is a quiet thing. It hides in the smallest spark and waits for the right moment. Maybe I am just one spark, but a spark can start a dawn. She closed the book and looked out at the stars again. The nebula shimmered like a curtain between worlds. Somewhere beyond it, the Dominion's banners still flew high, celebrating their illusion of victory. Mira smiled softly. Enjoy your peace, she whispered. It won't last forever. The Lorne expanse was a place of silence and secrets. The nebula's glowing clouds moved like gentle tides, hiding thousands of human ships beneath their soft blue light. Inside this calm sea of mist, the last of humanity waited, worked, and dreamed. Captain Mira Solon had become a part of them now. It had been weeks since she arrived, but the feeling of wonder had not faded. Every morning, she walked the wide decks of the command station and watched the people. Engineers repairing old engines, children running through corridors, and scientists testing devices made from both human and alien designs. They were alive. They were rebuilding. Humanity had not vanished. It had transformed. Admiral Keon Ardent watched her progress with quiet pride. He was a man of patience and purpose, his silver hair and calm eyes showing years of leadership. He often met Mira in the observatory, a transparent dome overlooking the glowing storms of the nebula. One evening, he said softly, "You remind me of the first explorers, those who left Earth not knowing if they would return." Mira smiled faintly. "They didn't have a choice either, did they?" "No," Ardent replied. "But that's what makes us human. We go forward even when we don't see the path." They stood in silence for a moment. The Admiral turned toward her. "Are you ready for the mission, Captain?" Mira nodded. "I've been studying the Virel systems and their language. I can pass as one of their officers if I have the right disguise. Lyra is helping me prepare the codes." Ardent placed a hand on the glass, looking out at the glowing horizon. "Once you leave, there will be no contact. The Dominion controls every communication network. You'll be alone again." "I've been alone before," Mira said calmly, "but not without purpose." The Admiral gave her a small smile. "Then the fleet will be behind you, even if you cannot see us." In the engineering bay, Mira worked side by side with Lyra, the young communications specialist. Together, they modified one of the new stealth ships, a small silver vessel designed to travel unseen through space. It had smooth, curved panels and no visible weapons, but it could hide from nearly all scanners. Lyra adjusted a control module and said, "The cloaking field will make your ship look like part of the nebula. To the Dominion, you'll be just another spark of energy." Mira nodded as she tested the controls. "Perfect. What about the data drive?" Lyra handed her a small silver cube. "This contains the full Project Dawn signal. Once you reach their core network, plug it into their main tower. The system will do the rest." Mira looked at the cube for a long time. It was small, something that could fit in her hand. Yet it carried the truth of an entire species. All of humanity inside one piece of light, she whispered. Lyra smiled gently. Be careful with it. It's more than a signal. It's our voice. That night before her departure, Mira walked through the quiet decks of the Lorn fleet. She passed by people reading, singing, and repairing machines. Some looked up and saluted her, knowing she was leaving soon. A boy, no older than 12, stopped her in the hallway. He held a small metal charm, a star-shaped pendant. Are you really going out there? He asked. Mira knelt down. Yes, I am. He placed the pendant in her hand. Then take this. My mother says stars help travelers find their way. She smiled warmly. Thank you. I'll bring it back. As she walked away, she felt a strange calm inside her heart. It wasn't fear. It was purpose. The next morning, the fleet gathered silently to watch her departure. Dozens of ships dimmed their lights, giving her ship space to rise through the glowing fog. The Erebus had been repaired and rebuilt, stronger, faster, and now equipped with stealth technology. Over the radio, Admiral Ardent's voice came through. Captain Mira Solon, your mission is clear. Reach the Dominion's core and show the galaxy that humanity still breathes. We trust your courage. Mira's voice was steady. I will not fail, Admiral. For Earth. For all of us. As the engines lit, her ship rose like a silver comet and disappeared into the mists. The journey through the nebula was peaceful, but long. Outside her window, waves of blue light drifted past like clouds in slow motion. She felt both small and infinite at the same time. When the Erebus finally emerged from the nebula, the stars looked sharper, colder. Space beyond the expanse was still ruled by the Dominion. Their patrol ships flew in perfect lines, their stations shining like glass towers. Mira activated her disguise system. The ship's hull shimmered and changed color, taking on the dark, curved design of a Virel scout vessel. Her human codes were replaced with alien ones, carefully crafted by Lyra to fool Dominion scanners. As she approached a checkpoint near a trade route, a Virel officer hailed her through comms. Identify yourself. This sector is restricted. Mira spoke in fluent Virel, calm and professional. Patrol Unit 747. Returning from survey duty near the rim. Authorization code Delta 78. There was a pause. Then the officer replied, code accepted. Proceed, Unit 747. Mira exhaled slowly. The disguise worked. For several days she traveled through Dominion space. She saw their stations full of bright banners and crowds celebrating the Age of Order. On some worlds she watched from orbit as citizens marched, chanting that peace had been achieved. But she also saw other things. Colonies where workers looked tired, planets where old allies of humanity lived in silence. She realized the Dominion's peace was built on control and fear. They didn't allow questions. They didn't want truth. Once, while refueling near a neutral port, she overheard two alien merchants talking. The humans were brave, one said, but foolish. They thought courage could defeat order. The other replied, still, sometimes I miss them. The galaxy feels quieter without their chaos. Mira smiled behind her mask. Not quiet for long, she whispered. After a week of travel, she reached the outer edge of the Dominion's capital system, Virel Prime. The planet shone like a crystal sphere, covered in golden cities and silver towers. Around it, hundreds of ships moved in elegant patterns. In the distance, a giant structure floated above the planet, the core network tower, the most secure communication hub in the galaxy. That was her target. Mira parked her ship among a group of inspection vessels and disguised herself further using a holographic uniform. The translator device in her ear adjusted her voice to sound like a Virel officer. She entered the city with calm confidence, walking among aliens who didn't even glance at her. They were too busy preparing for their upcoming Victory Day, the celebration of humanity's end. Colorful banners hung from the towers. Giant holograms showed images of Virel soldiers defeating human fleets. Laughter filled the air. For a moment, Mira stopped and looked up at one of the holograms. It showed a burning Earth and a Virel flag rising above it. She clenched her fists, not in anger but in focus. They think we're gone, she whispered. They're wrong. Meanwhile, far away in the Lorn expanse, Admiral Ardent and his officers watched her progress through silent data streams. Lyra monitored every pulse of her signal. She made it past the outer systems, Lyra said quietly. Ardent nodded. She's the spark we've waited for. If she reaches the core, the truth will wake the galaxy. He looked out at the fleet. Thousands of ships still hidden, engines cold but ready. They were waiting for the moment the galaxy would hear humanity's voice again. Back on Virel Prime, Mira reached the gates of the core network tower. Guards stood at the entrance, their armor shining under the bright lights. She passed through easily, her forged ID accepted by the security drones. Inside, the tower was vast and glowing. Streams of light flowed across the walls like rivers of data. Every sound echoed softly. It felt like walking through the heart of a star. She moved carefully, pretending to check consoles and read screens. Finally, she found what she was looking for, a port leading directly to the central data grid. Mira took out the small silver cube, the Project Dawn drive. It felt warm in her hand, as if alive. This is for every human who refused to disappear, she whispered. Then she placed it into the port. The system hummed softly, and lights began to flicker across the room. The data spread, silent but unstoppable, moving through every network line in the Dominion. On distant worlds, something strange began to happen. Screens flickered. Broadcasts paused. Voices whispered through static, human voices. Faces appeared, images of survivors, of ships still flying through the stars. It was only a glimpse for now, but enough to make people wonder. Enough to make them ask questions. The illusion had begun to crack. The core network tower of Virel Prime was a marvel of alien engineering. Light cascaded along its walls in ever-changing patterns, data streams floating like silver rivers. To the Dominion, it represented perfection and order. To Mira Solon, it was a challenge, a locked gate between humanity and the galaxy. Her heart raced as she adjusted the Project Dawn drive in its slot. The system hummed softly, almost like it knew something extraordinary was about to happen. Mira's fingers hovered over the console, ready to activate the transmission. Every step had been precise. Every word of her Virel disguise carefully chosen. One mistake, and the Dominion would know a human had infiltrated their most secure tower. But she didn't hesitate. She focused on one truth. Humanity must be heard. Outside, Virel Prime pulsed with celebration. The annual Victory Day parade filled the streets with light and music. Citizens marched in perfect lines, waving banners that proclaimed their dominance over humanity. Holograms of destroyed human fleets rotated above plazas, showing the galaxy what the Dominion wanted everyone to believe. Humans were extinct. Mira moved quietly along the inner corridors of the tower, unseen among the Virel officers and engineers. She paused only when necessary, carefully copying access codes from the terminal of a passing officer. Her mind worked quickly, recalling every pattern, every signal she had studied for weeks. She reached the central chamber, the heart of the tower. The core network glowed like a living organism, data streams intertwining in complex patterns. It was larger than she imagined, almost breathtaking in its design. But there was no time to admire it. Every second brought her closer to either success or discovery. Almost there, she whispered to herself. She attached the drive to the main port and checked the connection. The Project Dawn signal began to interface with the Virel network. A soft hum filled the chamber as the system accepted the data. Mira activated the transmission. On the consoles, holographic images started to form. Human ships still flying in the Lorne expanse, survivors working together, children learning, cities built in secret. Then came the faces. Brave men and women, smiling, standing tall in the ruins of their fallen worlds. Their courage radiated across the galaxy. For the first time in years, the truth of humanity's survival began to flow into Dominion networks. In the streets of Virel Prime, officers and citizens suddenly paused. Screens flickered. Holograms stuttered. Confused murmurs spread through the crowds. A merchant shouted, "What is this? Why are human images appearing?" A soldier raised his hand, uncertain. It must be a system glitch. The humans are gone, but the images persisted. More faces appeared, more ships, more cities. Then came the coded message embedded in the transmission. Clear human language reaching all species. "We are alive. We have survived. We are humanity. And the galaxy must know the truth." Silence fell. The Dominion had never prepared for this. Their networks were meant to control, not to reveal secrets. Every broadcast, every comm line was suddenly filled with undeniable proof. Humans had endured. Mira watched the data streams flow. Her fingers hovered over the console, ready to respond to any alarms. She had anticipated a lockdown, but the system seemed overwhelmed. Project Dawn was spreading faster than expected. In her mind, she imagined the hidden fleet watching, waiting for this moment. Admiral Ardent, Lyra, and hundreds of others had placed their hopes in her. She could feel their belief as a quiet pulse through the signal lines. And then, faintly at first, came the resistance. Messages from colonies under Dominion control began to appear. Fragments of dissent, curiosity, and hope. Humans were not the only ones watching. Aliens who had long lived under Dominion rule now questioned everything they had been told. Mira allowed herself a brief smile. It's working. Inside the tower, a security officer noticed the anomaly. Something is wrong with the network, he shouted. Data is being overwritten. The AI controlling the core network tried to respond, rerouting signals, shutting down ports, but the transmission was designed for resilience. A small human innovation that the Virel engineers could never anticipate. It bounced across satellites, ships, and planetary networks impossible to erase in time. Mira realized that the galaxy was watching humanity again, and it was not a broadcast of war or revenge. It was a broadcast of truth, courage, and endurance, the qualities that the Dominion could not destroy. Hours passed, and the celebration of Virel Prime began to crumble. Citizens paused, looking around at one another. Officers whispered, uncertain of what they saw. The images of surviving humans defied everything they had been taught. Some aliens laughed nervously. Others froze in disbelief. Slowly, doubts began to form in minds that had never questioned the Dominion. The illusion of absolute control was cracking. Mira moved through the tower carefully, leaving no trace behind. She accessed every terminal she could, ensuring the message spread to distant colonies, to merchants traveling between systems, and to networks that the Dominion had considered secure. For once, humanity had turned the tables, not with weapons, but with courage, intelligence, and the truth. By the next day, whispers of rebellion began to surface. Aliens who had lived under Dominion control for years started questioning the stories of human defeat. Some secretly transmitted messages to the hidden fleet in the Lorne Expanse. Others began preparing their own small acts of defiance. Mira returned to her ship, heart racing but steady. She had done her part. The transmission was alive, unstoppable. Humanity's message would echo across the galaxy, lighting sparks of hope wherever it reached. The core network AI tried to trace the source of the breach. Alarms rang, lights flashed, but it was too late. The humans were already gone. Mira's stealth ship disappeared into the orbiting mists, leaving the Dominion to face the consequences of their arrogance. Back in the Lorne Expanse, Admiral Ardent and the fleet watched as the first responses came through. Systems that had been silent for years lit up with signals of curiosity and revolt. Old allies sent encrypted messages of support. Citizens of occupied worlds sent hints of their dissatisfaction. Ardent turned to his officers. They thought humanity was gone, he said, but the spark has been lit. Now the galaxy will see the truth. One human can change everything. Lyra smiled softly beside him, and she did it without a single shot fired. Just courage and truth. Mira drifted above Virel Prime, looking at the planet glowing beneath her. She allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. She had faced fear, isolation, and the weight of an entire species' hope on her shoulders, and she had succeeded. A soft smile crossed her face. She pressed her hand gently to the pendant the young boy from the Expanse had given her, the star-shaped charm. She whispered, "For everyone waiting for the dawn." The galaxy was beginning to stir. Doubts, hope, and courage spread faster than any fleet could travel. The Dominion had celebrated their victory, confident that humanity was no more. But one human had shattered that illusion. Far beyond, in the quiet of deep space, signals from the Lorne Expanse reached distant colonies. Ships that had thought themselves alone realized they were not. The humans in hiding now had allies across the galaxy. And more importantly, the message was clear. Humanity would not vanish. The Dominion scrambled to contain the broadcast, but every attempt failed. The transmission multiplied, passed from ship to station to planet. Everywhere it was the same message: we are alive, we endure. Humanity will be remembered. That night, as the nebula of the Lorne Expanse shimmered softly around the fleet, Admiral Ardent spoke quietly to Mira via comms. "You've done more than survive, Captain. You've reminded the galaxy why humans are never to be underestimated." Mira looked at the stars outside her stealth ship and replied, "We've only just begun. The galaxy will remember, but we will do it on our own terms." And somewhere in the streets of the Dominion's capital, a young alien child stared at the flickering screens. Images of human survivors, brave and determined, filled the city. He whispered softly, "If one human can do that, maybe I can be brave too." The first cracks of change had appeared. Humanity's voice was back, and the galaxy could no longer ignore it.